"Is she dead, mister?" "She didn't wake up again today," the boy told the stranger. The morning air hangs thick and still around the weathered farmhouse. A boy stands barefoot on the porch steps, dirt caked under his small fingernails, his eyes carrying a weight no child should bear. The wooden boards creak beneath his feet as he watches a dust-covered truck idle in the gravel drive, engine ticking in the silence. "Is she dead, mister?" "She didn't wake up again today." The words cut through the quiet like a blade. The stranger behind the wheel sits motionless for a heartbeat, weathered hands gripping the steering wheel. His badge catches the morning sunlight as he steps out slow, boots crunching on loose stones. "Who didn't wake up, son?" "Mama, been 3 days now. She's breathing, but won't open her eyes." The stranger's face hardens, jaw working like he's chewing something bitter. He takes a step closer, studying the boy's hollow cheeks and the way his too big shirt hangs off narrow shoulders. "Where's your daddy?" "Ain't got one. Just me and her." The boy's voice stays steady, matter-of-fact, like he's talked about worse things than this. His bare toes curl against the splintered wood as the stranger moves closer, each step deliberate and careful. "How long you been taking care of her?" "Always, I guess. She gets like this sometimes. But not this long." The stranger's eyes sweep over the sagging porch, the peeling paint, the windows that haven't seen a proper cleaning in months. He's seen this before in these forgotten corners where help never comes, where women carry burdens that break them down piece by piece until they stop fighting back. Stop waking up when the weight gets too heavy to bear. "What's your name, boy?" "Tommy. Tommy, I'm Marshall Kane. I need you to show me where your mama is." Tommy nods once, turning toward the screen door that hangs crooked on its hinges. The morning light follows them as they move toward whatever darkness waits inside the house that forgot how to hope. "Show me." The screen door groans as they step inside, and the house swallows them in shadows that taste like old sorrows and whispered prayers. Every floorboard speaks under their feet, telling stories the walls have been keeping for too long. Tommy moves ahead with the quiet confidence of someone who knows every creaking step by heart. The hallway stretches before them, wallpaper peeling in strips like old scabs. Family photos hang crooked on the walls, faces smiling from better times when hope still lived in this place. The air smells of medicine and something else, something that makes Kane's skin crawl. This way. Tommy pushes open a bedroom door where sunlight fights through torn curtains, losing the battle against the darkness that seems to live in the corners. She lies there on the bed like carved stone, a young woman, maybe 25, with brown hair spread across a pillow that's seen too many tears and not enough washing. Kane moves closer, his boots silent on the worn carpet. Her chest rises and falls with the rhythm of someone caught between sleeping and something deeper. "Ma'am." He kneels beside the bed, studying her pale face. "Can you hear me?" Nothing. Not even a flutter of eyelids. She talks sometimes. Tommy's whisper cuts through the stillness. In her sleep. "Says don't tell him over and over." Kane reaches for her wrist, checking the pulse beneath skin that feels too cold. Steady but slow. "Too slow for someone just sleeping. Tell him what?" "Don't know. She gets scared when trucks come up the drive." "Any truck that ain't yours." Kane's eyes sweep the nightstand. Water glass, half empty. A book with pages yellow from age. And there, tucked behind the lamp, an empty pill bottle with no label, no markings of any kind. How long has she been taking medicine? "Don't know about medicine." "Found that yesterday." Kane palms the bottle, slipping it into his jacket pocket. The plastic feels warm against his fingers, like it's been waiting for someone to notice. "What's your name, son?" "Tommy, what's yours?" "Deputy Marshal Kane." He stands, studying the boy's face for any sign of recognition. "I'm here about your mama's letters." Tommy's eyes widen just enough to tell Kane everything he needs to know. The boy knows about the letters, which means someone else might know too. The kitchen table bears witness to too many secrets as Kane spreads the letters across its scarred surface. Each page tells a story written in desperation, ink smeared, where tears fell on paper that trembles in his hands. Tommy moves around the small kitchen with practiced movements, hands too young for the task of making coffee, but steady from necessity. The first letter makes Kane's jaw clench. He said if I kept writing letters, something bad would happen to Tommy, but if I don't write them, something bad happens anyway. Jesus! Tommy glances over from the stove, where an old percolator bubbles and hisses. The sound fills the silence as Kane reads the next page, each word cutting deeper than the last. The sheriff comes by when he wants, takes what he wants. I can't stop him. Kane's hands shake as he reads the final letter dated just 2 weeks ago. I found the other women's letters in his desk. We're not the first. Your mama's been writing to the federal marshals. That's why you're here. Part of it. Tommy sets down a chipped mug that's seen better decades, coffee sloshing over the rim onto Kane's weathered fingers. The heat burns, but Kane doesn't pull away. She said someone would come. Tommy's voice carries hope like a fragile bird. Said to trust badges that don't belong to Sheriff Kane. Kane's blood turns to ice water in his veins. Sheriff Kane, 3 counties over, reputation for keeping order his way, which means no order at all for people like Tommy's mama. The kind of lawman who wears a badge like armor and uses it like a weapon. How often does he come around? When he wants. When was the last time? Sunday. After church. Tommy's voice drops to a whisper. After he left, Mama started sleeping. Kane pulls the empty pill bottle from his jacket pocket, holding it up to the light streaming through the kitchen window. No prescription label, no pharmacy markings, nothing to trace it back to any legitimate source. Tommy, you ever see pills like this before? The boy shakes his head, dark hair falling across his forehead. Kane turns the bottle over in his palm, recognition hitting him like a punch to the gut. He's seen these pills before, knows their purpose and their power. Veterinary sedatives, the kind used to drop a horse before surgery, strong enough to keep a woman unconscious for days. Maybe forever if someone wanted it that way. Son, we need to talk about Sheriff Kane. The county roads stretch out like old scars across the landscape. Dust rising behind Kane's truck as they pass farm after farm, where curtains twitch and shadows move behind windows. Women watch from doorways and porches, their eyes carrying the same haunted look Kane saw in Tommy's mama. The same fear that lives in houses where hope died a long time ago. There. Tommy points to a mailbox painted with faded flowers. Mrs. Henderson. She stopped talking last month. Kane turns up the gravel drive, noting how the chickens scatter like they've learned to fear the sound of engines. The farmhouse squats low and tired, paint peeling like old skin, but the laundry line tells a different story. White sheets hang perfect and straight, each clothespin placed with mathematical precision. They find Sarah Henderson behind the house, hanging laundry with movements too careful, like someone walking on broken glass. Her hands shake as she pins a pillowcase to the line, and Kane can see the bruises on her wrists even from a distance. Ma'am, I'm Deputy Marshal Kane, Sarah freezes, the wet sheet in her hands dripping onto the grass. Her eyes dart to Tommy, then back to Kane's badge. Can't talk. Her voice comes out cracked and small. Nothing to say. About Sheriff Kane? The pillowcase falls from her trembling hands, landing in the dirt like a white flag of surrender. Sarah's whole body goes rigid, her breathing sharp and quick. I got children. The words come out as a whisper, barely audible above the wind through the laundry. Tommy walks over without hesitation, his small hand taking hers. The gesture breaks something in Sarah's face, tears spilling onto the clean sheets she's worked so hard to keep perfect. Like Mama? Tommy asks, his voice gentle in a way no child should have to learn. Sarah nods, unable to speak through the tears that won't stop falling. How many others? Kane keeps his voice steady, professional, but his hand rests near his weapon. 6, maybe 7 farms. Sarah wipes her nose with the back of her hand. He calls it collecting taxes. Says we owe the county for protection. Kane's radio crackles to life. Dispatch looking for him, wanting updates and reports and explanations he's not ready to give. He reaches down and turns it off, the silence settling around them like a blanket. Sarah, I need you to listen careful. Things are about to change around here. The gravel crunches under their tires as they return to find Sheriff Kane's black and white cruiser, parked in the drive, like a vulture waiting to feed. Through the bedroom window, Kane catches a glimpse of movement. Tommy's mama sits up in bed, groggy but awake, her eyes struggling to focus on the world she's been hiding from. Thought that boy might have found some trouble. Kane's voice drawls from the porch, lazy and confident, his hand resting on his gun like it belongs there. He leans against the railing with the casual arrogance of a man who's never been challenged in his own territory. Kane steps out slow, making sure his badge catches the afternoon light. "Sheriff," Marshal Kane. Kane's smile doesn't reach his eyes. "Heard you were sniffing around my county." "Your county?" "These people need looking after." Kane pushes off from the railing, taking a step closer. "Sometimes that means making hard choices for them." Tommy bursts from the truck and runs toward the house, his small feet pounding up the porch steps. Through the screen door, Kane can hear him calling for his mama, can hear her weak voice answering back. Like drugging women who won't keep quiet? Kane's voice cuts through the afternoon heat. Kane's smile turns ugly, revealing teeth stained yellow from too much coffee and too many lies. Like keeping order, something you federals never understood. Funny thing about order. Kane takes a step forward, closing the distance between them. "Real order doesn't need drugs and fear? You threatening me, Marshal?" Kane's hand moves to his weapon, fingers brushing the grip. "Just stating facts." Behind them, the screen door opens with a screech of old hinges. Tommy's mama appears in the doorway, leaning against the frame for support, her son pressed against her side. When she speaks, her voice carries across the yard like a prayer finally answered. "I wrote everything down. Every time. Every woman. Federal marshals got copies." Kane's face drains of color, the confident swagger replaced by something that looks almost like fear. His hand twitches toward his gun, then stops. "Thing is," Kane continues, his voice steady as bedrock, "those letters, already in federal hands? Grand jury meets Tuesday." The silence stretches between them, like wire pulled too tight, ready to snap. Somewhere in the distance, a crow calls out, the sound harsh and final in the still air. Kane's breathing comes faster now, his eyes darting between Kane's badge and the woman who's been writing his crimes in careful script. One letter at a time, the moment stretches thin as wire before Kane's hand moves for his weapon. The sheriff draws first, desperation making him clumsy, but Kane's faster. His gun clears leather like lightning, the barrel finding its target before Kane's weapon levels. The gunshot cracks across the valley like thunder promising rain, echoing off the hills and rolling back toward them in waves. Birds explode from the trees in a flutter of panic, their cries mixing with the ringing silence that follows violence. Kane drops to his knees, clutching his shoulder, where blood seeps through his uniform shirt. His gun lies forgotten in the dirt beside him. Useless now as his authority. You shot a sheriff, shot a predator wearing a badge. Tommy's mama appears in the doorway, and Kane sees something different in her face. She stands straighter now, like waking up finally broke whatever spell held her down for so long. Her eyes burn with a fire that's been buried under drugs and fear. "Tommy," she says, her voice steady and strong. "Go inside, Mama, now." The boy obeys without argument, but Kane catches him pressed against the screen door, small fingers gripping the mesh as he watches his world change forever. 16 years. She steps off the porch, moving toward them with purpose. "Started when I was Tommy's age." Kane's radio crackles to life, dispatch reporting his backup 20 minutes out. 20 minutes to clean up 16 years of corruption and abuse. Sarah, Henderson, and the others, Kane says, keeping his gun trained on Kane. "They'll testify?" "They will now." Kane spits blood into the dirt, his face twisted with pain and rage. "This won't stick. I got friends in high places. Judges, state officials, had friends." Tommy's mama cuts him off, walking closer until she stands over him. "Friends who don't return calls once federal marshals start asking questions." She kneels beside the bleeding sheriff, her face inches from his. When she speaks, her voice carries the weight of every woman who stayed silent, every child who watched from doorways, every letter written in desperate hope. "Remember what you told me about consequences? Kane tries to speak, blood frothing at his lips, but she doesn't let him. You said every action has consequences. That girls like me needed to learn that lesson early. Her hand touches his wounded shoulder, pressing just hard enough to make him gasp. Consequences found you. Dawn breaks clear and bright across the valley, washing the farmhouse in golden light that feels different somehow, cleaner than before. The smell of pancakes drifts from the kitchen window, where Tommy's mama stands at the stove, her movements sure and steady for the first time in years. Outside, Tommy scatters feed for the chickens, laughing as they cluck and peck around his bare feet. Normal sounds after too many years of silence. Kane sits at the kitchen table, finishing his report in careful handwriting. Federal backup left an hour ago, taking Kane away in chains that caught the morning sun like broken promises. The house feels lighter without his shadow hanging over it. What happens now? She asks, sliding a plate of pancakes in front of Kane. Grand jury trial justice. The real kind. She nods, understanding that justice takes time, but knowing it's finally coming. Tommy bursts through the screen door, breathless and bright-eyed. Mama, Mrs. Henderson's here, and Mrs. Patterson, and Mrs. Garcia from the next valley over. Through the kitchen window, they watch women walking up the drive. Some carry children on their hips, others walk alone, but all of them wear the same expression. People finally free to breathe, to speak, to hope. They want to talk, Tommy's mama says, wiping her hands on her apron. About what comes next. Kane stands, settling his hat on his head. Sounds like you don't need me anymore. Maybe not. She meets his eyes, and he sees strength there that was always present, just buried under fear and pills. But thank you. At his truck, Tommy runs over, his small hand tugging on Kane's jacket. Mr. Kane. Yeah, son. Mama's gonna wake up tomorrow, right? Kane kneels down, ruffling the boy's dark hair. Every day from now on, as Kane drives away, he watches them in his rear-view mirror. Women and children gathering on the porch, talking, planning, living. Their voices carry across the morning air like songs he's never heard before. Behind them, the house stands differently somehow, like it finally remembered how to breathe. The radio crackles to life. Another county, another voice asking for help. Kane reaches for the handset, already knowing his answer. Kane answers it.